St. John Armenian Church is the spiritual home of many of the Armenian Americans in the Bay Area. We have an over 90-year history. It was in 1924 that the Armenians who had gathered here in San Francisco, many of them coming from the Central Valley of California, gathered together for the first time to celebrate the divine liturgy of the Armenian Church. For many diasporan communities, this marks a foundational moment in their history. From that time forward, we can say that there was an official Armenian community here in the Bay Area, centered in San Francisco, and it was that community that would eventually form St. John Armenian Church. For 73 of the past years since that community's formation, St. John Armenian Church has hosted a food festival. The food festival represents something very important to the faithful of this church, to the members of the Armenian American community here in the Bay Area, and also to the community at large. And it's about a lot more than food, although the food plays an important role. The food festival is an occasion for all of the members of this parish to come together, to work together, and to pour their hearts out in service for the benefit of this church, because the food festival is our primary fundraiser on an annual basis, but also to honor the memory of their ancestors. When those first settlers came to the United States, those immigrants came fleeing some of the most horrific events which took place in the 20th century. And what they took with them were their memories, the memories of what they inherited culturally and spiritually. By building a church, they were able to pay due honor to their spiritual heritage and to continue worshiping. But the food festival is that occasion when they were able to pay also an important homage to their cultural inheritance. That moment when people could come together and share with one another and with the broader community their food, their dance, their music, their art, and their love for one another, their fellowship. This is, in many ways, kind of an outpouring of the heart for members of this community. They put so much into it because they want others to appreciate it as much as they do. So, in many ways, it's an act of love, this food festival, not simply a fundraiser or an opportunity to come and have lunch. It's a principle for us here at this parish that those that contribute the most to the success of events like the food festival, in particular to the food festival, are volunteers. They're family members and professionals that fill their lives with all of the other obligations and preoccupations that people have on a day-to-day basis. However, those people set aside a certain amount of time to devote themselves to helping to make the food festival a success. For some, that means literally dozens of hours of work. For others, less. We have over 100 volunteers that show up on the day of the food festival to volunteer for just a few hours. However, their participation is just as necessary and just as important. But increasingly over time, it's become difficult. The contribution that a volunteer makes is one that's given from the heart. And even though it may be difficult to cultivate, and even though it may be difficult for that individual to find the necessary time, it becomes something more precious, their contribution to us and to them and to the people who benefit from it. We should be very thankful that we live in a society and in a time when we do have free time and comfort with which to choose to do what we want. And we do challenge our faithful to take some of that time and to give it to the church, because the church is there to serve them. The church is there to provide spiritual nourishment, to help lift them up when they're down, and to celebrate that with them when life is good, and to help show them what they should be grateful for because of all the gifts that we've received from God. And there's this symbiotic relationship that comes about as a result of that. We depend on them, but then in many cases we know that our faithful depend on us, and it becomes like a dance. But a dance requires partners, and we certainly need partners. It makes us all the more grateful for those who are able to give us their time, but it also helps us realize that we have to do more to reach out, to help educate those potential volunteers, to teach them the skills necessary to be able to contribute, especially when it comes to preparing the food for the food festival, which is in some ways becoming a lost art. The preparation of the food is in many ways the biggest responsibility and the largest hurdle that we have to overcome to prepare for something like this occasion. We could buy many of the foods that we serve from vendors. However, we choose to make it here because we think that the outcome, we think that the result is going to be the best tasting experience for the people who are coming. So we're proud of that, but that means that hundreds of hours go into the preparation of food, and it requires, as you said, a skilled preparation, a skill set necessary to be able to prepare those items. I think that we need to also have a vision for the future that is informed by hope and a sense of faith in God's providence. And so it may be the 73rd annual food festival, but I know there's going to be a 74th and an 84th and a 100th. And I want us to think about our children and our children's children and how by what we're able to contribute, we can make their lives richer. And we can continue on that legacy by providing the means for that faith and that culture to continue, to propagate, to grow stronger and evolve even. And that's what the food festival is about. I think the food festival is of course a celebration being a festival, but it's a celebration of hope. It's a celebration of what we have accomplished and what we can accomplish in the future with the support of one another and with God's love.